Wi-Fi. Absolute Wi-Fi. Hello, welcome back to Tales of the Whoniverse podcast. If you've just seen the title sequence twice, that was because the button unfortunately had got stuck, so we got a bit jammed in the Ethernet. But
yeah, I was literally just about to ask about that.
You're nailing these live intros.
Yeah, it's just to make sure people are awake at this hour. We have done a backfired test, but it wouldn't be Tales of the Whoniverse if everything went to plan. So hello,
of course not.
The podcast was Wi-Fi. Just like, oh dear.
Yes. So we're back again. We are absolutely back. We're live. When did you last see us? Oh yeah, we only recorded yesterday, and we've got an episode out today. If you've seen the Greatest Show in the Galaxy review, thank you so much for watching it. And if you haven't yet, it's only just literally gone up for tonight. So we are here tonight reviewing the two-part premiere, in the sense, because obviously it's the opening of the brand new season. Well, controversially, people will call it series, what do we call it, 14, 15, series 14, but
No.
Yeah, but at the moment officially it's season 1. Again, how many times?
Are you sure it's not season 40?
It's 1 or 40. That's...
Yeah, I'm going with season 40.
At this point, it could be anything. You know, it could be 600 at this point. No, then it became Eccleston. Now we got Shooty. We've had quick update on the podcast before we continue to start. So going forward on Fridays, if you've not seen the announcement on social media, we are back doing things like Big Finish, Classic Who, Expanded Media. But if you've not seen the announcement tonight, it'll be next Friday. Will be the Battle of Giants Causeway with friend of the podcast who stars in it, Conrad Westnass, who plays Carey's, alongside his long-awaited return with India Fisher and Paul McGann as well as the Doctor. So we will be reviewing that on Friday, and then the week after on Friday, it's going to be an in-house random classic Doctor Who episode that, if you've not seen from anyone on the podcast, we will be voting for that one, because it's going to be special. Because if it's an episode you've been waiting for a long time to review, we're going to be in-house voting to do a special episode. It could be from anyone from Hartnell up to Sylvester that nobody's tackled yet. So that's what we're going to be doing as a special one in 2 weeks. And the last update as well is when the season's ended, we're going to be doing a look back on the whole of Shooty as the Doctor from the Giggle to season 1, and then take a break from doing Saturday reviews of Doctor Who, and then starting to do an open plan where we're going to be doing stuff like things like Star Wars, things like Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, things that are a bit different, just to keep people's interest. So we're excited by that one. So yes, so we're going to be opening up with Tales of the Whoniverse Presents. So if you see those special titles, that means we're not doing Doctor Who that week. We're doing something completely different. But tonight, we're going to be reintroducing the floor. So hello, Aidan, again. Hello, Aidan.
Oh, hello, Matt. Lovely to be here again.
Yeah, it only felt like what? It was only about last night when I was literally exhausted and hanging after that podcast.
Yeah, it was last night.
Yeah, I wasn't drunk. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
I mean, I would have loved it, but no. And then we've also got in-house again. We got our Face the Raven is back.
Hello.
So, as we say, tonight is about the debut, which has come back for Ncuti Gatwa into his first season. Now, because it's part of the Disney Plus package, it's the first time in Doctor Who history that 2 episodes that aren't a finale are not dropping back to back. They're not literally on the same day, in the sense they started off at midnight our time on BBC iPlayer, and have just appeared tonight on television, the 2-part episodes, which we'll tackle a little bit later this evening differently, about what was your preference, watching it online or watching it live. So we'll open up with thoughts and reviews on the Space Babies. Hello. So Space babies, babies running a station. Yes. So I'll open up the thoughts on that. Absolutely, it was a wonderful opener to me because it was just absolute chaos. It was mad. It was fun. I loved the Doctor and Ruby's chemistry again, once again from the get-go after the church on Ruby Road. It's like, is it plot heavy? No. Is it maniacal? Is it maniac? Does it make any sense? No, but it's Doctor Who. It's funny. It's comical. I loved how caring the Doctor was towards the babies. Like, he was just so worried about them throughout the station. I loved the fact that Ruby and him got mistaken for their mummy and daddy when they came in, and all the babies were like, I've never been hugged, and they all started cheering, hooray, can we get a hug too? The Doctor was super protective. He was super compassionate towards them. I just like the fact that this is building on a bit of the current ongoing story that's still going on from Chris Chibnall's run. So the fact the Timeless Child is still become like the biggest part of this new Doctor, but he seems more open. He seems way more calmer and happier than the previous New Who Doctors, who had such massive burdens on their shoulder at the minute. But I just think it was just absolutely disgusting but hysterical. They had a legitimate bogeyman who was a legitimate villain, who was not even a villain. It was just a baby itself. And I was like, what? It was one of probably the most maddest Russell T Davies' scripts. And I think it was just a fun story. But yeah. Normally, I have a lot more to say about stories like this, but I've only got one more thought, which is because I'd loved the episode, but it was just very straightforward. My only last thought was the comical side story at the start when they're going off to the past, and then when Ruby literally stepped on the bug, only she turned into like that creature and all that. I didn't think the Doctor can now revive butterflies, but hey ho from the dead. I'm like, okay, so we've now got magic in the universe. But hey,
He's the Doctor. Yeah. He doctored it.
Yeah, he can turn back death. Oh wait, wrong Doctor.
Breathe light gives regeneration energy into the butterfly.
No, wouldn't it be more bi-generational energy though?
So what's different on this one tonight is I've kind of actually finished my thoughts on Space. I loved them. It was straight to the point. It was a wonderful start to Doctor Who again. But Nanny, I loved Nanny because obviously she was terrified for the babies, and it was nice to see the embodiment behind the voice. And I loved that she cared so much that she would do anything for those children. But
Can I actually ask you two some stuff around this? Because like I had quite a few thoughts, but I've not really like talked to either of you really much about this to hold off until now. Did either of you feel that that this episode's like the tone of it was quite different to how like Doctor Who has been in the past? Like I don't know, I felt like there was quite a bit of a shift for me anyway. I don't know if either of you felt that too, or
yeah, I don't know. I never really stopped to think about it, like while I'm watching it, because I remember I was just thinking, like, just watching it along, just thinking like, oh, we're getting some bits about the past. Oh, we've got a Rani mention, and then there was like, oh, what was that other name after the Rani? Because I remember someone posted on Twitter like
Conquistador or something.
Yeah, I think someone was saying that was like apparently a faction paradox reference, which was I was thinking, I doubt that's the case, but if it is, I'm here for it.
I thought they were just making that one up, but I didn't know that. Yeah, that's cool.
Well, it's Russell. He's literally pulling out the reference bag of expanded media since the 60th, and it looks like it hasn't stopped. In terms of the tonal shift, I get what you mean. At the start of the episode, it felt like we were going on a different adventure entirely. When it was going to the past, it looked more light. But then as soon as it got to the station, it was like dark horror. Then as soon as you see the babies, it was like it was comedy. It was like utter bliss, but comedy. It's like Russell had designed it to be a way to get new people into Doctor Who by introducing familiar elements to the show. But I do see people's points online that it did look a little bit like a rehash from the End of the World because of the whole space station, and he's talking with Ruby in the same way Nine talked with Rose. But I think it's to make it feel that familiar, that it's the same show. But no, in terms of tonal, it's like it was 3 different ones in one episode. But yeah, I completely agree. It's like a tonal shift in this one.
I'll try and like explain a bit more what I mean with that. It's just like, I don't know, in terms of the writing, compared to Russell's original era, I don't know, for me, for example, like Ruby's reactions to being like out in space and everything like that, to me, she feels a little less like a real person than like Rose or Martha or something like that. Like, at least to me, and not in like a bad way, but it's like this, like, it almost feels like I'm not meant to take anything as seriously. Like, it's just like a very weird, like slightly heightened reality that's like definitely leans a lot lighter and a lot like funnier. So the only show that I can think of to sort of compare it to, which I don't know if either of you watched, was Umbrella Academy.
I can't say I've watched it. Sorry.
Genuinely, though, like, first would recommend, but like for me, it weirdly felt like Doctor Who trying to do Umbrella Academy for both of these episodes, really, in that, like, I don't know, it didn't have the same kind of like grounded feel, and especially even though I've loved Shooty as the Doctor, and still love Shooty as the Doctor, he feels so fucking different compared to like any of the new Who Doctors, and I think a lot of that's based on, you know, with 14 going off and having therapy. Basically, like, you've got this Doctor that's not reacting to stuff in the same way as like previous new Who Doctors would have, like with like he's a lot more open. Like this dude does not keep secrets really at all. Like, he's like, oh yeah, I'm from Gallifrey, I've got 2 hearts, you know, I'm 1,000-year-old, oh yeah, I'm an orphan adopted, blah blah blah. Yeah. Like, in the first 5 minutes.
What we'll do is we'll describe a bit more about that. We'll describe a bit more about that when we come to the Devil's Chord, because there is a lot more of openness on that one. But as I say, is there anything I'm going to say now between like yourselves? You can pick. Was there anything you did not like about the episode of the space babies, or did you just think it was a good starting point, but it could have had a bit more to it?
I go ahead, Aidan, if you
I'm still thinking. To be honest, I'll let you go.
We're still cooking. We'll come back.
I found it kind of interesting that I've not seen people complain about, like, not that I want people to complain, but like about the bogeyman being made of bogies, when people, you know, for Sleep No More and with the Sandman, with people like with the creature made of sleep dust, it immediately fucking reminded me of that. And people were like, that's such a lame idea for a Doctor Who villain, oh my god, or like, the Sandman's so stupid. And I've not seen any of like the similar sort of thing, and like, I always found those complaints a bit stupid anyway. But like, I don't know, immediately the bogeyman made me think of the Sandman from Sleep No More.
Well, the funny thing with that, the feedback I've seen the most for this episode is people have said it seemed a bit rushed. It seemed too comical for a Russell story, and it just didn't seem like it fitted in line from like the 60th stuff compared to like the next one with the Devil's Court, which completely has like massive callbacks. So I think it's your interpretation with where Doctor Who's going at the minute. It's like it's either for you this era or it isn't at the moment.
I agree with the thing that it moved pretty quick, and with the comical thing, but that just seems to be this era. Like, that's kind of ties into what I was saying about like the tonal shift. Like I just think that it is aiming to be more comical, because that was the case in the Devil's Chord as well. So for both of them. So yeah, I don't know if I would agree with like as many of the criticisms though, because like I mean we'll guess talk about this a bit later, but I preferred Space Babies out of the two, and I don't think that seems to be a popular take. I've seen most people prefer Devil's Chord by a long way, but I really quite liked Space Babies. So.
I think it was just a sweet story, the Space Babies, because it showed, even in Unleashed, how much Shooty loved working with the kids, like, so much. And I think he would have just took them home if he could, like, the way that he was talking to them. It was, like, such joy watching that filming as well as watching the story. I didn't realise, though, that when you watch Unleashed, they said basically the Space Babies like station is reused from Wild Blue Yonder, so they kind of redid like the whole bit where the temp from Donna was on. They reused it they reused it from Wild Blue Yonder. That's the same set, but they just changed it.
Yeah, I'll admit I actually didn't watch like Unleashed, because I think by that point I think I was just like, you know what, I'm ready for bed.
I watched it this morning with the fake babies, the jelly babies that they were called. That was like pure nightmare.
Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Like that thumbnail is just like, Jesus Christ.
It was horrifying. For anyone who hasn't watched Doctor Who Unleashed, because you can only have like babies being on camera or whatever for like 2 hours a day or something, I guess. You know, because laws and like child labor laws and whatnot, they had like these like fake babies for most of it, and they look horrifying.
Yes, and I love the fact that they had like these guys that were just puppeteering around it, because obviously the kids couldn't be like in the remote control for health and safety, so they had people like in green latex like dealing with it. But going back to you, Aidan, did you think of anything that you didn't like with Space Babies, or did you think it's one of those episodes that you think is a joy on the rewatch kind of thing?
Yeah, I definitely found it to be like a pretty enjoyable episode, and also I know this is something I don't think anyone's like brought up here yet, but I know like with the ending, like it got me thinking, like with like you know like how like the 15th Doctor is just like set up that scan like before he comes out the TARDIS, and also tells Ruby to make sure that he doesn't get slapped this time. And then in the background there's like that scan. It's getting me wondering like what's that gonna mean? Like I'm curious now. Like
I've seen a load of theories. I've seen she's a child of someone important. I've seen she's the child of Susan Foreman this evening. I've seen she's her grandchild. I've seen that she
Alex had a brother?
Basically Alex Victor's brigade.
Yeah, I was going to say Alex had a sister.
Apparently so. Apparently, but in this like reality with Doctor, you just don't know where it's going. But I will say there's one thing that I loved, which ties with this episode and the next, is the snowflake arc around Ruby, and the snow keeps appearing. So I'm definitely thinking, I know Russell said we're going back to the church this season, but I like the fact that they're threading that storyline coming together, and it's going to be a big part of this season, which I'm looking forward to seeing what they do with it.
Yeah, because I'm definitely curious, like where it's going, like what will the answers be? We'll just have to wait and see until a few weeks' time.
I liked how that stuff was handled more in Space Babies than how it was handled in Devil's Chord, because I'm not gonna lie, like once we get onto that bit, like I don't care if some of the gods and stuff were like at Ruby's birth. Like I don't know. I've been through too many Moffat like season arcs to care about mystery boxes at this point. But yeah.
Well, spoilers since he's back next week.
Yes.
Yeah, I was gonna say plot twist, it's the gods of Ragnarok. They returned.
Somehow they returned in the televersion.
They're like, we want more.
Long have we waited for more popcorn.
Oh god.
I will say though,
No,
I actually think that this story is like underrated. Like I know a lot of people have been like, well, it's just fun, and it's just like I felt like it was about more things than what Devil's Chord was about, because like there was sort of underlying political stuff with Space Babies in that, like why the adults and everything like left the space station is like, oh well, essentially like babies are created by the state and everything, and then kind of enforced to exist quite oftentimes in like pro-life areas and whatnot, but then there's no actual government support to actually, you know, once they exist in the world, and I like that stuff. It was cool. It kind of reminded me of like Smile, which I don't know, underrated sci-fi episodes of Doctor Who that I like.
Okay, I'd say there is one icon who's appeared in this episode, and she was probably livid about the TARDIS appearing because she did not get her cup of tea. It was Cherry Sunday. I loved seeing her back again, even though it was just too. She's just one of the funniest characters already. When she's like, "What the flip is this doing in here?" It's like, what?
Yes, just when she appeared on the screen, I was just like, "Yas, Queen, slay."
She's honestly becoming one of my favourite characters. She's literally only just appeared at Christmas, but when she flirted with the Doctor back on there, it was so funny. And she's like, "Hello, I'm like Cherry. I'm Cherry Sunday, like the tasty treat." And I was like, "What is this dialogue? She's amazing. I want to meet this one." She's absolutely nutty, and I love that the show's still continuing with her. The only thing I've also seen that has been the biggest complaint with this episode is the Doctor's about to go and see Carla and Cherry properly, but then it ends with a scan rather than him doing the formal introduction. So I wonder if they've just had to cut it because it's the shorter episode length, because obviously normally before in the past the Doctor meets the parents properly rather than, you know, being that side of it. Like, okay, we're doing a time jump in the next episode, but so we skip past like the formality side of it. I don't know if that's the reason why they're doing it.
I mean, we all know what this means. Yeah, Big Fish are just gonna be like, "Oh yes, time for more box sets during that time period."
Like, write that down.
Yeah, it's like coming soon from Big Finish Productions. Doctor Who, the 15th Doctor Adventures, Volume 1. Yeah, we haven't come up with a name yet, but give it time. We'll come up with this when we get close to releasing the box set in like the 2030s or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's well, as I said to earlier today in the chat, I still believe they're going to go do the 14th Doctor and Mel adventures as well, since, you know, he's parked with her as well. So yeah, they'll be doing like Mel, Auntie Mel, but I think that's been fascinating as well with, like, you know, they've just purposely left all these gaps. Like, yeah, Big Finish will do it, don't worry about it. Oh, you didn't get any answers today? Oh, don't worry, we're not doing it this season. We'll let Big Finish handle the rest when they get the rights. No,
I think it's a risky move though if he never wants to do them. Like,
yes. So shooting,
we can only hope
Big Finish. What's a Big Finish? Never mind, we'll explain later and keep it clean, Shooty.
Yeah, you thought it would be like, "Excuse me, what are you saying here?"
Oh, you'll just play that Omega clip to him, that what at him.
Oh, God.
You were like, what? Why aren't you doing this? But no, final thoughts from me on Space Babies before. Yeah, it was a jolly fun episode. It was good that Doctor Who come back, but this is what we're going to be discussing just before we move on. So it's been also the highlight of like discussion as well. Doctor Who, as I talked a little bit earlier today, has moved on to the Disney Plus streaming side in America, and for us it dropped for the first time ever at midnight on BBC iPlayer. For those of us who stayed up to watch, how do we feel about it now, moving into that kind of digital age that you've got the choices to watch it there or live still? And what would your preference be? Like, if you had the choices to watch it either way.
I mean, I watched it. I always watch Doctor Who on iPlayer anyway. But usually just when it came out, just like on BBC One first, like in the past, I would just watch it after the showing usually. I did watch it at midnight last night. I wasn't going to, but as I was already awake, I was like, might as well. But I can't see myself doing that every week. I don't think. But it was fine in the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I know, like, for me, I didn't actually mind it being up at like midnight. I mean, it could be a lot worse. It could be like, I'm trying to think how Star Wars sometimes does it. Like, because I think they have their shows coming on to Disney Plus at like 3 a.m, which if that was the case, then I'd be like, I'm just gonna watch it in the morning. But since it was at midnight, and usually I don't go to bed till like after midnight anyway, so I was just like, I'll watch it.
Yes.
And
for me, for me as well, Aidan, I'm in that similar boat to you. I have no issues with watching it. I actually stayed off of social media and watched it on iPlayer straight away. I know there's been a massive debate from people like, but you can't avoid spoilers, or you got. I think if you shut down and you're within your perfect right and just avoid that part of the internet, I think you can manage it. It's when you get a little bit rifled off, I believe, personally, you shouldn't be by spoilers. If you've already been watching it live at midnight, just be respectful for people that are going to watch it later on the BBC One side, or because obviously you've got people who physically don't like online media, and if you're going to say, oh yeah, I know this about the babies, I know what they're doing, they're all talking babies, I know you've seen them in the trailer, but one's a captain and all that, you start spoiling it, I think people get a bit uppity with you, like kind of ruining the plot. I think personally there should be like a window where you wait before you personally spoil stuff. But hey ho, that's just me. If you're gonna do it, just do it within group chats and discuss it privately, like what we do. Otherwise, you're upsetting for somebody who can't physically watch it. But hey ho, that's just my take on that one. But yes, any final thoughts and views on the spoilers? For like, do you believe it's worth just keeping off the internet till then, or are you just not fazed by it?
I kept off of the internet. Like, I know we had a group chat open for those who were watching it at midnight, but I was like, I'll stay off even until I fully watch them, because I also just didn't want to have anyone else's sort of opinions influence mine, which I'm very glad that I didn't, because like otherwise I would have seen immediately that everyone else preferred Devil's Chord to me, whereas like I was just able to be like, I loved Space Babies, let me go online to see all these people agree. Oh no.
Oh no, I am alone in this.
Yeah. So I was like, this is a sign that Doctor Who is back, when my views aren't held by most people. But yeah, it was fine, and like I know that I'm not going to be able to watch it like at midnight every week, just because like there are going to be weeks where I have plans on a Friday night, but I don't know, I'll just stay off of social media until then. It's not ideal, but like.
Yes, have you, Aidan? What do you feel about like everyone just rushing to the internet, like bombarding with spoilers? Are you fine or nay?
Yeah, because I know for me, like I'm one of those people that's like not terribly fazed by spoilers at times, but it's like I know there's like some things that I just want to be like wait till I see it myself. But yeah, I can understand like people like who are just like, right, I want to watch this myself. Might as well quickly check. Oh, for God's sake, there's a spoiler. God damn it. But
what do you mean Jodie Whittaker was the Doctor? Wasn't it Peter Capaldi? It's shooting out one right now. Oh,
wait,
where have you been
Christopher
then?
Eccleston's the Doctor? Like, wait, what happened to Paul McGann? Like, wasn't he the Doctor? Why isn't he coming back to do a regeneration?
Yeah, what do you mean John Pertwee regenerated to Tom Baker? I know that was the 70s, but what happened? What happened to him?
What do you mean John Pertwee died?
What do you mean the Doctor regenerated?
What do you mean he was? Oh, what do you mean he was old bloke? So you know he was young in every single episode. Who told you this?
Yeah, it's like what happened to being in black and white?
Back in my day, Doctor Who didn't have colour.
Yeah, back my day, there wasn't any sonic screwdrivers or TV remotes.
Sonic fucking TV remote.
Yeah, it was all TV dinners. Right, so I think we're going to draw a close now. We're going to draw a close now to the Space Babies portion of this podcast. So I'll just get ready now for the next portion. It's going to be one that I've actually been excited for a long time because I followed the career of great interest with the villain of the Maestro of Jinx Monsoon, as well as the Doctor and Ruby's chemistry in the story. But let's start a little bit differently on this one. So we'll start with a person who is hinting about opinions and differences. So let's open with Raven on her thoughts on the Devil's Chord.
I still liked it. Like, I did like both of them, but I just didn't. I don't know. I didn't see the hype as much as like other people. Like, I don't know. It was different. It like that's what I appreciated the most about it. Like, it felt very, very different to other Doctor Who. There was a musical number at the end, which I liked. But the story, like, okay, positives. Love the Maestro, love Jinx Monsoon's performance and everything. Like, she kind of like carried the whole episode for me. But what was the story like about or trying to say? It was just like, and now there is a villain trying, like, who just wants to remove music from the world. And so like the deeper meaning is just like, and without music, the human race would be sad and there would be war. It's like, okay, cool. Like, I don't know, it just didn't do as much for me. Like, Space Babies, like I said, like had like political stuff in the background and things to say that I found more interesting, whereas this was just music. Good. So like it just didn't do as much for me, but I did still like it. I don't know. That's my thoughts.
Any negatives?
I felt like some of the foreshadowing of the series arc was a bit heavy-handed. Like, I could not give less of a shit of who the one who waits is. Like, I'm sorry, I don't care. Like, because it's not. People are describing it as a mystery of like, oh, we're getting another clue of the one who waits. And it's like, no, you're not. You're just hearing another name. Like, that's not a clue as who it is, because like a satisfying mystery has breadcrumbs for you to follow and like that you can actually put together a puzzle. Whereas this is just like, oh, and the series villain will appear soon. Like, so, you know, when Maestro goes into the piano at the end, like she gets pulled away and is like, the one who awaits will be here soon or something like that. I'm like, okay, this is the least subtle that this could have possibly been. And like there's been quite a few of those with the in this era of like at the end of the Star Beast with Beat the Meat being like, wait till you hear from the boss and stuff like that. And like with the toy maker saying something about like his legions or whatever. And it's just like quite heavy-handed. But that's my least favorite bit. But I did like a lot of the rest, I swear. It's just like It's just that in terms of the series arc, I care about the character stuff, like the Doctor dealing with having recently realized that they're adopted, and Ruby, her experience being adopted and like not knowing who her mother is and that sort of thing. Like that's what I think is interesting in terms of how it impacts those characters. I don't care about the gods of whoever because I don't like they haven't shown up yet. I don't have a reason to care. But yeah, anyway, I'm gonna hand over to stop the rant.
Yes, of course, said stop the rat.
The Raven's rant.
Yes, coming soon from the Tales of the Whoniverse podcast, an audio exclusive of Raven's rants, because when it's visual, she's throwing chairs and smashing nuns. Wait, what?
Nuns? Okay.
Well,
yes.
Okay, Nunkigana.
Oh god.
Okay, moving swiftly on to so I'll go up next then for the Devil's Chord. What a great villain in the Maestro, being the child of the certain toy maker from back on the 60th when they did the icon. I was like, what was this going on? Why are we back to the giggle stuff? And then when they revealed who they were, that was absolutely wonderful. I like the fact that somehow in the universe, like Palpatine, the toy maker had time to get busy to get a child. It was like, okay. But no, I think there was some great moments, like seeing the Beatles like being defeated, that horrible dog song they sung that suddenly turned into a meme about carbon, but that's a whole other thing at the minute.
oh god.
I love my dog.
Yeah, it's just 10 out of 10 words right there.
Yes. I think what I loved about the Devil's Chord is, as you say, Raven, like the Doctors being the most open with this season. Like, but it did feel like it could have belonged to the 60th, like in the way that it felt like a direct continuation of the giggle with like the Maestro and the whole callbacks towards it. And especially being the Doctor when he said to her, "Oh, I'm just down there, I'm just in Shoreditch right now running around. I think it's him." Because obviously he's not explaining, I used to have a different phase. I had white hair, I had my grandchild, we kidnapped some school teachers, and we went off on a great adventure.
Sorry, I was laughing like, I had my grandchild, we casually just kidnapped some school teachers.
Well, it's true though. I'm not gonna lie, because obviously they broke into his house. He basically just like said to her, "Right, that's it. You're coming with us. This is a hostage situation." And they became friends.
Something tells me when the Doctor tells that story to other companions, he conveniently leaves out the detail that he kidnapped.
Guys. Yeah, it's just like, yes, they came with me willingly. I totally did not kidnap them.
Why do you ask?
They broke into my house, they muddied the carpet, and then suddenly we went off on the jolly old time. Who told you I kidnapped them? And we didn't Barbara themselves. They wrote it in their memoirs. Fabrication.
Yes, that is indeed fake news. They even stole my jelly babies. Those bastards.
I don't think one was even eating jelly babies yet. I think it was 2.
I mean, you never know. Maybe Harnell had some like jelly babies in the TARDIS kitchen or something. I don't know.
I could see him more having jelly beans than babies, but that's another topic. Going back to the Devil's Chord, no, I love the fact that it was extremely British in the sense when you got the Doctor and Ruby literally like pretending they're undercover, and they're like, "Here you go, here's your cup of tea. Here's a cup of tea for everyone." Oh yes, and I'm just thinking the American audience is like, yeah, these British people definitely love cup of tea. Why is that? Oh, because they kept handing it out to every goddamn person in this episode with Jinx Monsoon. I think it's got one of the best special effects I've seen in Doctor Who. For the bit where it goes utterly silent, and Jinx is trying to work out like as the Maestro, like, why is it so quiet? And then that water sequence with that ping, like, and it like kind of disarmed the Sonic. I think that was a visually masterpiece on its own, because Doctor Who, when it plays well into great special effects, it works for a great episode. I loved the fourth wall break where Jinx was playing the piano to dung da 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 dung, and then it just started breaking the TARDIS, and it was just so okay.
Yeah,
I think Russell.
Yeah,
I think Russell.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. I was just going to interrupt a little bit there because you brought up the fourth wall break. So that was actually something I've noticed quite a bit with this year. Like, it's been quite a few of those.
Yeah.
Oh yes. Ever since like the 60th, it feels like the wall breaking has become a lot more prominent. Like we're shooting, winking to the camera, like in this story. So, just before I move over to you, Aidan, just quickly, I'm just going to do final thoughts from me on this part. As I said, I think it's going to be an episode like for Rayburn at some point, as well as myself. Like we'll give it another rewatch to see like different, if your mind will like change and opinions will form different. For me, at the moment, it's a highly regarded episode for me because it was just absolutely fun. But I know you said you quite liked it, but again, it's early days. I think it might be best to rewatch at the end of the season, when it's all done, to see if like you like it a lot more. Because right now we're trying to work out the arc that's going on with this year. But no, I think it was fun. It was great having Cilla Black, the Beatles, with like their whole copyright issues, and obviously. Just do the twist. Do the twist with Susan Twist, who's appearing every goddamn where since Wild Blue Yonder. When are we seeing her again? Oh, next week as well. That's her and like the little clip from Unleashed. She's literally turning up as the ambulance. Yeah, that's her legitimate credit for next week. But over to you, Aidan. What was your thoughts on the Devil Chord?
Yeah, because I remember like we were speaking about Maestro earlier. Because I remember like I will admit before they were announced as to be playing like Maestro, I'd never heard of like Jinx Monsoon at all. Like, it's gonna sound weird, I know. Like, but I was thinking, I wonder who. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking, wait, I wonder who they are. And I thought, I'll be looking forward to seeing how they are, and they did that, not disappoint, like as the Maestro. Yeah. Yeah, honestly, I honestly loved like the musical motif that they had. Like, I'm trying to think about what to say without just repeating what you two said.
It's okay, you can repeat it.
Yeah,
you can have the views.
Yeah, because I remember like thinking about what Matt was it. I can't remember which one of you said about like Maestro being. No, it was Matt that said about Maestro being related to the toy maker.
Mm.
Because I remember I was hearing that and thinking, oh, could this mean like you could be seeing like more of like the toy makers, like either Legion or family? Like maybe we might even see the Queen of Time, like from the Lost Second Doctor story.
Mm.
Yeah, that's my big finish.
That's his sister.
Yeah, it just makes you think. Maybe there'll be more to come from this celestial lot.
Oh, I forgot one thing just quickly. I loved the music battle with Jinx and the Doctor. Like, how he got trapped in that freaking drum, and they literally because he hit the wrong note, they literally trapped him in legitimate instruments. That to me,
it's
like that is hysterical.
Yeah, it's like the Doctor trapped inside the drum, and then Ruby trapped in the double bass. Yeah.
I believe, Agent, this era is going to be one of those kind of things where if you've missed things on the first run, as the series arc goes on, you can go back and watch it and see like if you picked up on things. Like when I heard about, as I say, as soon as he mentioned Susan, what did the internet do? Oh, she's coming back. Russell wouldn't just name drop a companion and all that about her coming back.
Yeah. It's like Ruby is a regenerated Susan without her memories or something. I don't know.
Yeah,
I was just going to jump and say, if that ended up being true, then Jesus Christ, you heard it here first. I predicted it. Calling it.
Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen
so
like
what does everyone
every
think?
version.
Because there's a big theory. So what does everyone think? There's a big theory doing the rounds that the one who waits is supposedly a villainous version of Susan.
I was going to say, I feel like I've seen like every single possible Susan theory under the sun. Like every character is Susan, and Susan is everyone. So one of them's bad.
I've seen the timeless child theory come back again. That she's going to be the timeless child again.
Yeah. No. Media literacy is dead if you think that anyone the Doctor is timeless child. Like, no, it's done. Get over it.
Like deal with it.
That came back this evening. Yeah.
Who was it that, like, not to completely just at someone, but yeah, like that's so fucking dumb. Like, I'm sorry, but like after everything that Russell said about like the character arc for the Doctor is like, the Doctor is a foundling, Ruby's also a foundling. That's something that like joins them together. It's about like found family and all that kind of stuff. To like cheapen that as like a season arc reveal and go, ha, lol, jokes, it was actually Susan, this character that you won't have fucking met until now unless you're a big nerd and watched back in the 60s. Like, no, that's so dumb. Like, it's no, that's not going to be the case. But the only Susan theory that I think actually might be legit is that Susan Twist might be playing Susan just for that, because of the thing of like there's always a twist at the end, and I can just see Russell being like, marvelous.
But it's like poetry. It rhymes. No, wait, that's George Lucas.
No. He's gonna actually. Do you remember that ballad song he did a couple of years ago with David Tennant and Catherine? It's actually going to be him pulling the mask out and say, "I was Susan all along."
The real Susan was the friends we made along the way.
No, that sounds like Power of the Doctor again.
Oh God.
No. Did you have any negatives with the episode, Aidan, or did you think like Space Babies is perfect enough to stand alone on the rewatch?
I'd say like probably like the main negative I could think of was like for being like quite a bit of like the promotional material for the episode. Like the Beatles like didn't really like do terribly much, like especially like George and Ringo, like because I don't actually think they really did anything in the episode at all. Like it was mainly like John Lennon and Paul McCarthy, like because they were speaking to like the Doctor and Ruby, and then at the end like playing the correct note, the correct chord, like to stop Maestro.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just
controversially, they are the most popular of the Beatles, but yeah, at the same time, it's a bit of like an odd thing if you're going to do a Beatles episode. I know copyright was hard, but if you're not really including them much in the story, it's like when we talked about the Greatest Show the other night. If you're not using the supporting cast well, then they kind of get buried in the background, and it turned them into I mean, the freaking tea lady had more dialogue than them two. The tea lady that she played.
Yeah, it's like the tea being like half a sovereign and being a fucking ripoff.
I don't think George or Ringo had a line in the episode.
Yeah, now that you say that, I don't actually think. Yeah, they didn't. Like they're just there. Apart from like the whole like song with the dog, which still 10 out of 10 lyrics right there.
They wouldn't have spoken in that because they're not, but they weren't the vocalists in the band, so like they wouldn't have even have spoken for the dog song. Like, yeah.
It felt like I think there was probably because it's Disney Plus as well. And don't think an American market wouldn't know. Nowadays, they wouldn't know too much about the Beatles.
Fuck off! Would they not? Everyone knows the Beatles.
Yeah, it's like John, Paul, George, and Ringo.
I actually know a few people, and this is legitimate. They were from America. They said they've literally thought the Beatles was actually the Bugs. They thought I was literally referring to that because, as far as they're concerned, they know Taylor Swift more than them two. They're like that band on the whole. They didn't know who they were. They literally thought I meant the Bugs.
Did they live under a fucking rock? Like, what? Who doesn't know who the Beatles were?
Well, apparently, because they're not modern, they don't know who they are.
That sounds like a problem with that person rather than you found the one person who didn't know who the Beatles were.
No, literally had to Google and still said no, don't know who they are.
Absolute insanity.
Yeah,
but that's besides the point. But as I say, like what I was trying to get in that regards before we sideline is like I think in terms of like the Disney Plus audience and all that, they probably unless you've grown up around them, unless you know who the Beatles are, this is a brand new territory for them. So I don't know if they had to cut back on the scripting for them just for that kind of market is what I meant. Because obviously, but saying that, they had Flaming Cilla Black who had more dialogue than them, and he's not really known to an American market.
More people know who George and Ringo are than Cilla fucking Black.
There's a lot of laughs.
I think it's just that like common like assumption that like Paul and John wrote everything. I think it just comes from that rather than any other logic, which is just like objectively not true. But yeah.
But it didn't feel like a historical episode anyway. It just felt more like it was the maestro was meddling, and that was just probably it. It was like for a 16th episode, when like they've done things like Rosa, you learned a bit more about that time period. This, all you just knew was about the dancing, the singing, but it was really the maestro's story. So I wonder, because they meddled with everything, that's kind of been the biggest shift with this episode. I mean, this is the first episode in a while where you're not learning anything about the time period, apart that the Doctor is literally parked down there, and somewhere else you got the Umbrella Man is running around at that same time. So literally 1963 is full of Doctors at the minute.
Yeah, it's like the only year ever with the first Doctor at the like I.M. Foreman's like in Totter's Lane. You got Seventh Doctor and Ace like dealing with Imperial and Renegade Daleks.
Yeah. You've got 8 Big Finish is literally right there, who's also dealing with the Daleks. It's a mess, 1963.
It's just I wonder how time has just not collapsed because of 1963.
I'm surprised it's not a paradox at this point, because if 15 walked down the street and he saw the first Doctor, there'd be a big bang at that point.
Yeah, actually, not a bad idea for an Unbound story. Big Finish, if you're listening to this, keep this idea in mind.
Are you me? Yes, dear fellow, are you me? Oh, well, yes, I am. I'm the Doctor. Well, you can't be me. You're wearing a dazzling suit. I'd never wear such a thing. What's with that big afro? I can't see myself having one.
And I was like, wait, what's happening? Oh dear, there seems to be a paradox happening.
Yes. And then Umbrella Man walks in, and then suddenly it's just like, I knew this would happen one day. I knew I'd meet myself again.
I know you, young man?
But just on a side note, just to finish up, wrapping up with the Devil's Chord. No, I think it was a success for this series. So far, because again, the music was fun. The cast were having a great time. To echo the sentiment, I think some of the supporting cast should have had a bit more time, because if you got Susan Twist, who's more featured than the Beatles, and Cilla Black, okay, yeah, again, Cilla is an iconic name in England, but Americans won't know her unless somehow America had surprise, and all that business of Blind Date. You wouldn't really know all of that. But no, I think it was wonderful. Space Babies was wonderful. And I just think, we're in for a good treat. So who's excited for next week's return of Stephen Moffat before we wrap up?
I know I am.
Moffat fangirl here. Like I didn't want another Moffat script, but now that we have one, and just
it's like I'm not going to complain here.
I could take a little Moffat.
Yes, if it's true from the BBC website, it's been the first time that since he's come back, he's executive producing the episode next week as well. So he's also had a big hand in next week's episode.
Cool.
So that'd be great. So I think we're just about to wrap up for time, but just before we do our good night, so just a reminder for people who have come through the madhouse on this adventure tonight. Yes, we're looking forward to the rest of Shooty season. We'll be back next week on Friday with Giants Causeway which will be pre-recorded. The rest of the season will be pre-recorded apart from the upcoming finales. When we do those, they will be live, so we can have a nice discussion about season 1 and obviously like the big end to the season. Then we've got the retrospective of like Shooty as a whole as 15. But thank you so much for joining. I've been Matt. This has been Aidan. So say goodnight, Aidan.
Yeah, hope you all enjoyed tonight's review, and don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Tales of the Whoniverse YouTube channel.
Yes, and finally, this is.
I'm going to pick up your Yas Queen Slay. You didn't do it. So.
I was like, hey, that's my line. I'm joking. I was like, hey, that's my line.
One of us has to do it.
I fight at the car park.
Yeah.
I fight at the car park. And just for everyone, thank you so much again. We are trying to make this a bit more of a regular thing. But obviously, if things happen where we can't do it, personal commitments like conventions or health or anything, we will try to pick it up on another date for recordings. But thank you again for joining, and so good night. And don't forget, I was in 1963. I'm in your head. I'm like the greatest, dear people. Good night.
Good night.